So, this is one of my all-time favorite stories. I'm way out of tune. But my heart is in tune, and I suppose that's one of the more important things. But if I'm going to strum behind my story, it's going to have to be... What I'm going to need you guys to do is like really open your hearts to this one. I suspect while you're here in this week or two, or month or 2 or 3 in Shayasha, it's easier to open. You're finding that it's easier to open your hearts than it ever was in your life, perhaps. Am I right or am I right?
Yeah.
Right. I didn't give you much of a choice on that one. Okay. So this yeshiva is actually is an interesting mix, because often in the yeshiva world you'll have a yeshiva, a Litvish yeshiva or a Hasidic yeshiva. You guys know the difference between Litvish and Hasidic?
No.
Some of you do, some of you don't. Okay, so Litvish is not a type of fish in the ocean, although plenty of Litvish people are as cold as fish. Litvish means basically a Jew from doesn't mean today, it means like 200-300 years ago, a Jew from the area of Lithuania, Latvia, that part of the world. They practiced a certain type of Judaism that was fully Torah-centric, all about learning Torah. Of course, they did all the mitzvahs, all the davening, but it's all about learning Torah. There came a point in time where basically the only, that time in our history, 300-400 years ago, in Lithuania, Russia, Poland, that part of the world, most people did not have the luxury of being able to sit and learn Torah. It was really rough. We lived in the Pale of settlement, so many of us in that part of the Ukraine, Russia, that part of the world, Poland. Most Jews were simple. They were water carriers, they were farmers, they were peddlers, they were merchants, worked very, very hard, long hours. And unfortunately, there was a time where very, very few were able to sit and spend a significant amount of time learning Torah. Most people were not really so connected. They lived very pious lives, but just like, they were simple, very simple people. And it came a point in time where a lot of people were feeling very disconnected. So there was a big tzaddik. Some of you may have heard of him. His name was Rabbi Yisrael. He was known as the Baal Shem Tov. Okay, the Baal Shem Tov, he who carried a good name. And the Baal Shem Tov saw what was happening, and he introduced the idea of Hasidism into the world, of being a Chassid. Now today, when you say the word Chassid, well, first thing that comes to mind is the guys with the long black coats and the furry hats and the long pants. And that's how they looked back then too. But the truth is that that's not really what a chassid means. That is the trappings of a chassid, because that's what the European nobility wore at the time. So the chassidim took that on, the long black coat and the fur hat. That's what the rich people wore, the noble people wore. And they took that on because that was what that was like the sign of the utmost respect in clothing was that back then. But really, what Hasidism meant to the Baal Shem Tov, what he tried to do is that he tried to basically make God accessible and available to every Jew. And even if someone never learned Torah in his life or didn't really have much Torah in his life, that you can serve God other ways. Obviously, the ideal, everyone is going to agree that the ideal way to serve Hashem, the ideal way to get close to Hashem is through learning His Torah, because Torah is God's wisdom and will manifested on earth. And when you simply just learn Torah, that is you're connecting with God on the highest level. But unfortunately, not everyone had that opportunity. So the Baal Shem Tov taught that you can get close to Hashem through davening, raising up your davening, through singing, through something called hispodidus, which is basically secluding yourself and having conversations one-on-one with God. So he opened up other ways, and that really was a lot of what the early Hasidim were focused on. Of course, some of the greatest Torah minds and teachers were from the early Hasidic rabbis, but as far as accessibility to the masses, that was the driving force behind early Hasidism. So there was a chassid. Now, one of the things one of the ideas that the Baal Shem Tov introduced is that not everybody has the capability, the wherewithal to connect to God on a high level, right? So the Rebbe was basically like the conduit to God. You can come to your Rebbe, and if you want your Rebbe to, if you want to ask for God, you don't ask something to Hashem. You don't feel like you have the best connection right now. You can come to your Rebbe, and he's like a direct conduit to God, if you will. Okay, so a chassid comes to his Rebbe. His Rebbe, the story is about the Baal Shem Tov. So a chassid comes to his Rebbe. He said, Rebbe, I have everything that I need in this world. God is so good to me. The only thing that I don't have, I have to change keys, I'm sorry. The only thing that I don't have, I have a good parnasa, I have a good livelihood. I have a good health, I have a beautiful wife, amazing children. But there's one thing I'm missing, and without this one thing, I feel like I have nothing. Holy Rebbe, I want to see Eliyahu Hanavi. The rabbis teach us that only someone on a really high level can merit to see Elijah. You know, we have a tradition that in times of trouble, there are times in our lives and throughout our history that when we're like in this, when we're in a jam, God sends Elijah to bear the crowd. And this Jew says, without me seeing Elijah, I feel like I have nothing. Rebbe, show me Elijah. I want to see Elijah. The Rebbe closes his holy eyes. He strokes his holy beard. And he says, my sweet disciple, if you really want to see Eliyahu Hanavi, it's not going to come so easy. Got to work a little bit. There's a town, maybe a week's travel away. It's a shtetl. It's called Zlobotnik. And if you really want to see Eliyahu Hanavi, next week is Rosh Hashanah, and you have to go spend Rosh Hashanah in the shtetl of Zlobotnik. And in the shtetl, there's an almana, a widow. And if you spend Rosh Hashanah with this widow in Zlobotnik, you'll see Eliyahu Hanavi. Now this chassid really believed in his Rebbe. He really believed that his Rebbe was like basically representative of God. And if his Rebbe said, I have to go to Zlobotnik for Rosh Hashanah, that's what I'm going to do. If I really want to see Eliyahu Hanavi, that's what I'm going to do. Now in those days, you didn't get into your Range Rover and drive over to Zlobotnik. We're talking about like a week's journey in a horse and buggy. You have to pack enough food for the way there, the way back. You have to really like gird yourself for a journey. And he packed up his wagon with enough food, enough provisions, everything he needed for 2 weeks. And he made his way to Zlobotnik. And we're not talking, there were no shops on those carriages. We're talking about bumps in the road. And by the time he got to Zlobotnik, his vertebrae were talking to him. Erev Rosh Hashanah, mamish, a few hours before Rosh Hashanah began, he got to the town of Zlobotnik. And he asked, does anyone know where such and such a widow lives? And someone told him all the way on the edge of town, went down all the way to the edge of town, the poorest part of town, that's where you're going to find this widow. So moments before Rosh Hashanah, he knocks on the door of this, finally finds this widow, and the door opens up, and this bedraggled, like just beaten down woman, all haggard, with like three rugrats clinging to each ankle, right? Kids all over the place, goats flying around, chickens flopping, and it was just a wild, chaotic scene. And she goes, yes. Goes, are you Mrs. So-and-so? Yes. Goes, I heard that when you're in town for Rosh Hashanah, this is the place to be. She looked at him like he's from Mars. She said, I don't know who told you that. I have a one-room hut here filled with children. I have no husband. I have no food. I don't even have a drop of food for myself, and I barely have enough food for myself and my kids. You think I don't have anything for you? He goes, don't worry about food. I have enough food for all of us. I just need a place to stay. Can you host me? She goes, okay, if you need a place to stay, I can host you. Stand in the corner, with some straw in the corner. You can stay if you really need to stay, if you have no other choices. And this holy Jew, he spends a relatively unremarkable Rosh Hashanah in the shtetl of Zlobotnik. Goes to the shul. He basically provided all the food that the family needed, and he just basically had a regular Rosh Hashanah. No bells and whistles, certainly no Elijah. Rosh Hashanah's over. He heads back, takes a journey back, and he finally gets back to his Rebbe and he said, "Nu Rebbe, I did what you said. Where Elijah at? show me Eliyahu." The Rebbe closes his holy eyes some more. And he strokes his holy beard some more. And he said, you know what? not enough. You got to go back for Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur. I just spent a week going to get there. I just spent basically almost a week coming back. If I'm going to make it for Yom Kippur, I got to turn around right now and go back. Now, he believed in his Rebbe, like, but how far is his Rebbe going to push him? Like, he was there for Rosh Hashanah. There was nothing happened there. It was just like a regular, boring, as boring I suppose as Rosh Hashanah could be, but like, it was just like nothing happened. But the Chassid believed, he really believed deep down, that what his Rebbe was telling him was what he needed to do to see Eliyahu Hanavi. So he quickly ran home. He packed up his wagon again with all the food that he would need for the journey. And once again, he set off for the shtetl to the widow in Shlomo. Literally moments before Yom Kippur, he finally makes it. He was so nervous he thought he wouldn't make it in time for Yom Kippur. He thought maybe he'd have to spend it in his wagon, but he makes it back to Shlomo, literally an hour before Yom Kippur. He comes up to the porch of this widow, and he's about to knock on the door. He doesn't know what he's going to tell her. But before he knocks on the door, he hears the voice of a child. A child behind the door in the house, and the child is crying to his mother. And he hears the child say, "But mommy, you think Hashem wants to fast tomorrow in Yom Kippur? There's no food ever in this house. I fasted today. I fasted yesterday. I fast all the time here. You think Hashem wants me to fast tomorrow in Yom Kippur? I fast every day of the week. Why does Hashem want me to fast in Yom Kippur?" And as Yid's standing on the porch, he hears the voice of this widow answering her child. And he hears her say, with a broken voice, "My sweet child, you're breaking my heart. But what can I do? I have no food, I have no money, I have nothing to give you." We literally have nothing. The only thing we have, my sweet child, is our faith in God and our prayers. Why don't you daven with me? And if you daven, and if we daven, maybe, just maybe, Hashem is going to send us Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, again, just like last week Erev Rosh Hashanah when we had nothing to eat. Knock, knock. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hanavi. We're looking for miracles, right? We all want to see the hand of God. But sometimes we don't realize that we ourselves, we could be the hand of God for someone else. This chassid was looking for Eliyahu Hanavi, but for that almana, he was Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu